When it comes to climate, we're told to trust the science. But they don't mean that. They mean don't question what we're saying. I'm Tom Nelson, and this is Guerrilla Science. Are these government-funded so-called climate scientists neutral and objective, or do they have an interest in promoting and keeping alive the climate alarm? Do they have skin in the game? Let's look at how big government funding distorts what we're told by our publicly funded science establishment. First of all, so-called climate scientists.
Stanford University just got more than $1 billion to fund a school focused on climate change.
The story begins when we make available about $100 billion of funding for climate-related research. That doesn't include the trillions being spent on subsidizing hopelessly inefficient so-called renewables. This is just money going to academics. Now imagine you run a university. Since the Second World War, more and more university funding has come from the government. One of the main ways to get money is through grants for research. Of course, governments don't just blindly hand over cash. Politicians and bureaucrats decide where and how they want that money spent. In a cause that has been politically fashionable for some time, is climate.
$3 billion, including $10 billion in the fight against climate change.
So the government says, here's a chunk of money available to study climate. As the head of a university, you're going to say, that's great. Yes, please. As a university, you might not even have a department in meteorology. Not a problem. You can tell every department, from biology to cultural studies, hey, here's money to study climate, and your eyes light up. Now suppose you're in the department of, say, sociology. If you work in business, you'll know that in the commercial world, demand for sociologists is low or non-existent. In your everyday life, you will undoubtedly, at some point, really need a plumber. You will never, ever think to yourself, only I knew a sociologist. The same goes for experts in African tribes and the breeding habits of squirrels. These people only exist because of government grants. They depend on government money. Suppose as a sociologist, you've been spending the last 10 years studying prostitution, or misogyny, or video games. To qualify for the new climate money, you propose a new 2-year study on prostitution and climate, video games and climate, whatever you're doing in climate. Literally, this is what happens. By the way, if you say you think the climate hysteria is BS, you obviously don't get the money. Now suppose you're the guy who's giving out the grants. You've got to get rid of literally billions of dollars a year. For anyone who comes in the door saying anything with climate in a sentence is going to get some money. What's the upshot? You get not just hundreds, but thousands, literally thousands of academic studies on climate, climate and literature, climate and butterflies, climate and public parks, yada yada yada. This climate funding isn't just available for 1 year, it's on offer year after year. Okay, back to our academics. You're writing up your study on climate and architecture or climate and gender. You cannot write at the end of the paper, by the way, this climate stuff is pure BS. The grant bodies would ask for their money back. Sure as heck, you never get any more climate funding. Worse still, all your colleagues who are merely sucking on the climate sugar tip are going to be furious with you for rocking the boat. They'll say, shut the heck up. The university administrators are going to send you threatening letters saying, shut the heck up. Your actions are endangering tens of millions of dollars of funding. So every paper on climate always ends the same way. This climate thing could well be a problem, so it needs further study. In other words, give me some more money. And here's the sting in the tail. Someone comes along and gets a grant to study all these climate-funded papers. And they conclude that 97% of them seem to assume that climate change might be a problem. Therefore, there must be a consensus. Therefore, the climate crisis must be true. Therefore, if you dare to question their climate BS, you are, by definition, anti-science. And that, my friends, is how tens of billions of dollars of government funding can buy a so-called scientific consensus on climate change. I'm Tom Nelson, and this is Guerrilla Science.